We are on day 116 in Judges 6, and boy, do I love this story, and we have a lot to cover. But it starts out with, once again, the Israelites being unfaithful to the Lord and serving other gods. And because of that, the Lord handed them over to the Midianites for 7 years. And it says during that time, they tormented the Israelites. They even stole all their food, and the Israelites were literally starving. So here's what I love about this story. God does not look at us by who we are right now. He sees who we will become. And when he called forth this one man, Gideon, he didn't see him as coming from the lowest tribe, from Manasseh, from the lowest family of that tribe, and he wasn't even the firstborn. Yet God saw his heart, and God knew that Gideon, out of all the Israelites, was going to be faithful to him. Well, you know what? I want to live like that. I want the Lord to say, okay, Drew, I'm going to use you, not because you're great. You're not from a big family. You're not the oldest in the family. You're definitely not the smartest. Yet, I know that you will complete the work that I have for you. And that's all God asks. So that's why I'm here today. Not because I'm the smartest or the best or a Bible scholar. It's because, you know what? I just said yes to God. And I said, God, I want to serve you for the rest of my life. I want to do nothing but serve you. So here I am. And we'll see what the Lord has. But here's what happened. An angel appeared to Gideon. And I love how when things fall apart in the natural, how easy it is to say, wait a minute, where is the God of miracles? You know, where's the God that my ancestors talked about that saved me from Egypt? Where is he? Well, he took his hand of protection off of the Israelites because they were disobedient and worshiped other idols. So the angel appeared to him, and this is what he says, and I love this. It says, the angel came and said, Gideon, son of Joash, as he was threshing the wheat. He was literally in the winepress, separating the wheat from the chaff so they could hide a little food from the Midianites so the Israelites could eat. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him and said, mighty hero, the Lord is with you. In another translation, it says, Gideon, you mighty man of valor. Isn't that so beautiful? God didn't see him for who he was then, just threshing wheat. He saw Gideon for who he was going to become, a mighty warrior, and would save the entire nation of Israel. So when the angel came, he said, but Lord, how can I rescue Israel? My clan is the weakest of the whole tribe, and I'm not even the strongest in the family. And the Lord said to him, I will be with you. We can't do anything without God anyways, right? He says, and you will destroy the Midianites as if you were fighting against one man. And that's the power of God. Then when Gideon realized it was an angel of the Lord, he fell on his face and said, oh my gosh, you know, what's going to happen to me? I've seen the face of God. And the Lord replied, it is all right. Do not be afraid. You will not die. And Gideon built an altar to the Lord. And then the night the Lord said to Gideon, take the second bowl from your father's house, the one that is 7 years old, pull down your father's altar to Baal and cut down the Asherah pole standing beside it. Then build an altar to the Lord. Even in his own household, they had built an altar to Baal and an Asherah pole. And an Asherah pole is a goddess of fertility. And they would do crazy things in front of that altar as the goddess of fertility. That probably says it all. But anyways, so they were being disobedient. Even in Gideon's own household, they had false idols. And then it goes down and says, the Spirit of the Lord took possession of Gideon. In other words, the Holy Spirit came down, empowered him so he could fulfill the calling that God had for him. And it says, summon all the warriors from Manasseh, Asher, and Zebulun, and Naphtali, and summon their warriors, and all of them responded. Then Gideon said to God, if you are truly going to rescue me, then I need you to give me a sign. And this is what they talk about in the Bible when it says throwing a fleece out to the Lord. And what he did is he said, God, if this is truly what you've called me to do, I need a sign because this is huge and it's much bigger than I am. He said, if this is you, God, in the morning, let this piece of fleece be soaking wet and the ground be dry around it. And of course, the next morning he woke up and the fleece was soaking wet and the ground around him was completely dry. Then he said, oh God, please forgive me. But if this really is what you have for me, then let the fleece be dry and let the ground around it all be wet. And sure enough, God was faithful because he knew that Gideon needed a sign. This was such a huge task. So he woke up that next morning and saw that the fleece was completely dry and the ground around it was wet. And that was his sign where he said, this is what I'm called to do before God. And that built up his courage that he could go out and do what he was supposed to do. We are in Luke 22, and this is actually a very difficult chapter to get through. We just read about the great victories of Gideon and how he was called saying, Gideon, you mighty man of valor. And then we see how humans fail miserably in this next chapter in Luke 22. And it starts out with Jesus being arrested and Peter denying Jesus 3 times, which Jesus prophesied at the Last Supper. He said, Peter, before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times. And I'm sure we go through those times where we say, I would never deny Jesus. I would never do that. Well, and then we fail miserably sometimes, and we are not obedient, and we may become a people pleaser and not want to step out for what we really stand for. It's easy to do. And Peter, who walked with Jesus, still failed when it came to standing up for Jesus. So it says that right the 3rd time that Peter had denied Jesus, at that moment, the Lord turned and looked at Peter, and suddenly the Lord's words flashed through Peter's mind, quote, before the rooster crows tomorrow morning, you will deny 3 times that you even know me. And Peter left the courtyard weeping bitterly because he knew he had failed. So then Jesus was taken into the courts of Pilate, who was a Roman governor at the time. And it says that the religious leaders took Jesus in and said, this man has been leading our people astray by telling them not to pay taxes to the Roman government and by claiming he is the Messiah, a king. Well, first of all, here's one thing we need to learn is when people are against us, not only are they going to come against us, but they're going to lie about us. Because do you remember the story that we told when the religious leaders came to Jesus and said, well, should we pay taxes? And they thought they could catch Jesus. And he said, show me a coin. And they showed him a coin and they said, whose face is on it? And they said, Caesar. So Jesus said, then give to Caesar what is rightfully Caesar's. And he had his disciple put their amount into the government fund. So Jesus didn't teach people to avoid paying taxes. So enemies will not only come against us, They will blatantly lie. They will do anything to destroy us. But they didn't know what's coming because they're messing with the Messiah, the King of the universe. Then Pilate asked him, "Are you the King of the Jews?" And Jesus replied, "You have said it." He didn't deny it. I heard a lot of people say, well, Jesus didn't actually claim to be the Messiah. All throughout the New Testament, when you read it, you will see Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through me." That's pretty black and white. All throughout, Jesus claimed to be the Messiah. Then Pilate said, "I don't see any reason to do this to him. I don't see any reason for him to be put to death." So he sent him to Herod. And Herod questioned him. And it says here, Herod was delighted at the opportunity to see Jesus because he heard about him and had been hoping for a long time to see him perform a miracle. He asked Jesus question after question, but Jesus refused to answer because he knew it was a trap. He knew that Herod just wanted to mock him and wanted to catch him, just like all the religious leaders did. Then it says, then Herod and his soldiers began mocking and ridiculing Jesus. Finally, they put a royal robe on him and sent him back to Pilate. Herod and Pilate, who had been enemies before, became friends that day. So it's amazing. Not only will your enemies lie about you, but they will even band together when they don't even like each other. They will band together to come against us. But oh well, we've read the back of the book and we win. We may be attacked on this earth, but we will win the war with Jesus. Okay, I want to read you my favorite parts of Psalm 95 in today's reading. And I love this. Come, let us worship and bow down. Let us kneel before the Lord our Maker, for he is our God. We are the people he watches over, the flock under his care. You know, we were just talking about that. When we live for God, he's going to protect us and he's going to take care of us. We are his flock. So we want to be a part of God's flock for his protection. O nations of the world, recognize the Lord. Recognize that the Lord is glorious and strong. Give to the Lord the glory that he deserves. Bring your offering and come into his courts. Worship the Lord in all his holy splendor. Let all the earth tremble before him. Tell all the nations the Lord reigns. And all throughout the Psalms, we've talked about it, is the Psalms were all written as really hymns. Like we go to church and sing songs, these were their hymns of the day and their prayers. And they would worship the Lord through the Psalms. That's why it's so beautiful. And it says, magnify the Lord. Live for the Lord who reigns, all throughout the Psalms. It's the perfect words to read when you want to worship the Lord. And then the Proverbs for today is Proverbs 14, 5 through 6. It says, an honest witness does not lie. A false witness breathes lies. A mocker seeks wisdom and never finds it. But knowledge comes easily to those with understanding.